It Man!
Alright, it's the Hawk. I feel like Vladimir Kozlov is almost a meme character on this channel. He's not quite on the level of Sonny Don't Look at My Asiaki or Jeff Hardy's stoner friend, but he does have potential. Perhaps it was that one time that I claimed he was better than Gunther. I don't actually know that to be true, by the way. When you do comedy, people never really know what's real and what's not. So whilst Vladimir Kozlov is not really viewed as anything more than wrestling comedy, there was actually a time when this big ugly burger eater was pushed as a serious main eventer. And that's where we'll be heading today. Was Kozlov actually bad? Where did his push go wrong? And in hindsight, was there any way to make this work? We'll find out in today's episode of Hawksite Hindsight. Was it bad or was it alright? The Moscow Mauler debuted on Smackdown in April 2008 after an almost 2-year stay in WWE developmental. Vladimir Kozlov is actually from Ukraine, which I never knew. He was born in the capital Kiev. I guess the Ukrainian urinal didn't quite cut it. He does have a legit background in kickboxing and grappling. He's billed at 6'6" and 300 pounds. Kozlov would get a slow and patient build up on SmackDown. There was no rush here, as each week he beat up jobber after jobber after jobber. He actually made his debut in a 1-minute squash match against Shawn Michaels' cousin. Most of these jobbers were relatively unknown guys, so there was no real risk here. A lot of his moves were essentially treating Kozlov like a battering ram. It took a while for him to decide on an actual finisher, which you think he would have done during his 2 years in developmental. Kozlov enters to no music for the first couple of months. I think they were going for a guy that's all business and not flash aesthetic. Perhaps they thought this made him more intimidating. After a month of some actually really fun squash matches, and by the way I especially enjoyed the match against Colin Delaney as he bumped all over the ring and made it for a good crazy squash match, and yes, the crowd did care at this point. They oohed and ahed at his destruction and chanted USA to try and annoy Kozlov. He then moved on to beating on the cruiserweight division. Funaki didn't put up a fight, the stoner friend didn't have a chance, and jobber Stevie Richards couldn't last more than 3 minutes, no matter how many YouTube videos he made about it. Kozlov did eventually get music, which was someone muttering something in Russian over rock music. Smackdown must have had a hell of a lot of jobbers at the time because they kept feeding new faces to the monster Kozlov. After an entire 4 months of no real challenge, Vladimir briefly goes face to face with the Big Show, and he does manage to knock him down, which is quite heavily put over by the commentary team. From this point on, Kozlov starts demanding better competition. I don't blame him. Could you imagine being completely undefeated for 4 months and the best challenge they can find for you is Stevie Richards? The first actual challenge that he has is against fellow big man Festus. Festus actually had him beat multiple times, but he was too dumb to finish off the Ukrainian urinal. The Kozlov headbutt finishes him off, and it's a bit like watching the Pounce. After keeping up his momentum by seeing off 2 jobbers in a handicap match, he finally decides to tell us a bit more about himself, and it's here that the first problems arise. His accent is just too thick. Even when he speaks English, it's difficult to catch everything that he says. He tries to make the point that he demands better competition, and this issue is finally set up on an episode of Smackdown where he has a stare down with then WWE Champion The Game Triple H. This is actually a pretty cool moment as Kozlov stares a hole into Triple H. He does finally stop gorming out and they brawl, ending with Kozlov's massive meatball head smashing Triple H down. The crowd are booing and everything seems to be working out well. He also took out the Great Khali, who surprisingly around this time was seen as a main eventer. And I'm not even trying to be funny, but I would rather see Kozlov in the main event than the Great Khali. Surely you guys agree with that. The next week he really ramps things up. He destroys Jeff Hardy, who was a firm fan favourite at the top of his game. This got him some great heat from the crowd. And he isn't even done because he jumps Triple H at the end of the night. Hardy and the game have to resort to teaming up on him and the crowd roar on with their USA chants. I'm actually a bit in shock. There's been nothing bad about this so far, but I guess he hasn't officially entered the main event yet. But he's about to. He enters the main event on SmackDown with a match against Jeff Hardy. Kozlov gets a lot of near falls with moves like headbutts and belly to bellies. Hardy really struggles to knock him down, but the Whisper in the Wind does manage the job, so Hardy does it again straight after. Vladimir just shrugs off all of that and wins with a headbutt. The biggest win of Kozlov's career will leave Jeff Hardy dumping all the way back to North Carolina. I mean, the match just wasn't that exciting. Is that going to be the issue here? Not really sure if he's going to mesh any better with Triple H. They have another face-off where Kozlov says he's already proven that he can beat the game up, so he sees no point in fighting him again unless the belt's on the line. Triple H compares the situation to Rocky IV. The Russian is scary at first, but ultimately, America will prevail. And then Kozlov backs off from fighting Triple H, the first time he's backed down from anyone, by the way. Why make him do this? He was running through everybody. Now he's scared. Vicky Guerrero agrees that Kozlov can have a title shot if he first beats The Undertaker one-on-one. So how did Kozlov get on during his second main event? Well, actually much better. It's a very even match where Kozlov does a great job matching The Undertaker. You actually do manage to partially suspend your disbelief that Kozlov can beat The Undertaker. I especially liked his counter of Snake Eyes into a snap slam because you don't often see that move get countered. No clean finish to this match though because Hardy attacked Kozlov with a chair, but this meant that Kozlov got a title shot. The Undertaker has the last laugh with a chokeslam. Triple H and Kozlov try to have a contract signing. It's weird seeing Kozlov with clothes on at this point. Jeff Hardy gets involved and the title match for the Survivor Series has been changed into a triple threat. Not for long though, as Jeff is pulled from the match when he's found knocked out in a staircase, so Kozlov versus the Game on pay-per-view. The paying crowd are quite frankly pissed off. They are not in the mood for this match. Only a minute in and we get loud and continuous chants of boring and we want Jeff. I can see where this crowd were coming from. I sure would have been annoyed if I'd paid to see Jeff Hardy in the main event, but instead we're getting this. At one point, the crowd are so angry they even chant TNA. They must have been upset to chant that. Kozlov lands his battering ram headbutt for a double down. He gets a lot of near falls in this match, but the crowd just don't care. They couldn't give a turd about this match and it is distracting. Kozlov tried to have a mat wrestling match with the Game. WWE take it one step further and decide to troll the fans more during the match by having Vicky Guerrero walk out and proclaim that he's here. But he is just Edge taking Hardy's place in the match. Edge beats Triple H, but at least Kozlov was protected. It wasn't actually as bad a match as people say, it was just that the WWE didn't give the fans what they came to see. Kozlov is livid about being screwed at Survivor Series, he demands another title shot or he will beat everybody up. Instead, he gets told to beat up Matt Hardy in a beat the clock challenge match. He has to do this to get another title shot. He has 12 minutes and 13 seconds to beat Matt Hardy in, but he fails to do that. Jesus Christ, couldn't you have had him beat Matt Hardy? You're trying to make him a main eventer after all. Matt isn't ever going to be there. It's not the ideal way to bounce back from a poorly received pay-per-view match. But of course, Jeff and the Game both beat his time. Kozlov is a bad loser, so starts feuding with Matt Hardy. For what it's worth, Kozlov is given the award of Breakout Star of the Year. The only award he should be winning is the most miserable man on the roster. You'd be miserable too if you went from a title shot with the Game to facing Matt Hardy in the opener of the next pay-per-view. That's some fall from grace right there. Kozlov wins for what it's worth, and by the end of 2008 he went back to facing jobbers in squash matches. For some reason he was now proclaiming he was going to win the Royal Rumble. At this point the fans are in silence during Kozlov's matches. It's not like they're bad or he's botching, the fans just don't care to see him. After a few short weeks, the WWE decide to push Kozlov again. They booked him in the main event of Smackdown against Triple H once again. Not sure why they thought this was a good idea after last time. But halfway into the match, the Big Show is added to aid Kozlov in the handicap match. It would have made Kozlov look far tougher if he'd seen this one out on his own. It also kind of acknowledges that WWE doesn't think he's that great to keep adding other people to his matches. After a Big Show knockout punch, Kozlov actually pins the Game 1-2-3 of Uranagi, which is the finisher that people would probably most associate with Kozlov. To be honest, even though it's a handicap match, hardly anyone ever pinned Triple H, so this was a fairly big deal. Kozlov enters the Royal Rumble 2009 at number 6. He instantly squares off with the Great Khali and eliminates him. A month or so earlier, Khali had been a main eventer. Kozlov quickly throws out MVP. He also catches a Carlito dive and throws him out too. It was nice to see WWE giving him a bit of attention, but then Triple H enters and he's pretty much screwed. The Game quickly eliminates Kozlov. Vladimir has a chance at revenge on the following Smackdown in a triple threat with Khali and the Game, but again Kozlov was unable to pick up a win here. Triple H was proven to be a bit of a roadblock for Vladimir. To his credit, Kozlov manages to win a Battle Royal on SmackDown to qualify for the Elimination Chamber match, but to be honest, there was just no one important in that match. I'd be more concerned if he hadn't won this one. Elimination Chamber doesn't go well for him either. He fails to eliminate anybody, fails to do anything memorable or impressive, and he bows out quickly to an Undertaker last ride. For some reason, this loss empowered Kozlov to believe that he could break the Undertaker's WrestleMania winning streak. He was going to prove this to the fans by facing the Undertaker on SmackDown first. Now this match would be notable for a couple of reasons. Mostly because Kozlov actually beats the Undertaker in this match. Now Taker lost very few matches cleanly throughout his entire career. Looking down the list of those who successfully beat the Deadman fairly is like a who's who of wrestling. But Kozlov's name stands out like a sore beak on this list. So how did he do it? Well, whilst it was a squeaky clean victory, it didn't feel deserved. Kozlov didn't really damage the Taker that much. It came off more as lucky than anything else, as Kozlov turned old school into a power slam. Not even one of his finishing moves, and the crowd sounds shocked at this victory. Due to that win, it was decided that Kozlov would go over to Raw to face Shawn Michaels, with the winner going on to WrestleMania to face the Deadman once again. Doesn't really feel like it makes sense, but just roll with it. In retrospect, this match with the Heartbreak Kid is really where the wheels come off of Kozlov's main event run. It's not a bad match, it was just perceived as bad by HBK standards. Ultimately, Shawn beats him with the diving elbow drop and sweet chin music, ending Kozlov's undefeated run at 11 months. He would follow that up next week on Smackdown with another loss to The Undertaker. So ultimately, the whole thing felt incredibly pointless. He carried on doing the JOB in the main event for the next few weeks. It was strange seeing 11 months of hard work being completely disregarded in just a few weeks. As soon as WrestleMania was out the way, Kozlov was drafted to ECW for 1 year before returning to Raw in a comedy tag team with Santino Morella, which is probably what he's best remembered for. Kozlov was on WWE programming for 3.5 years, but his main event run lasted less than 3 months of that. The Hawk doesn't truly think Kozlov was that bad. Yeah, he should never have been pushed to the level of victories over Jeff Hardy, Triple H, The Undertaker, but it's not like he was botchy or unbelievable. He looked like a threat, he had some decent power moves, and he could have been a fine upper mid-carder. But they just pushed him down our throats too quickly. He was too bland and perhaps a bit too boring. There wasn't really much to his character other than muttering threats in a thick Russian accent. His undefeated streak was forgettable because he really only beat 2 people of note. Streaks only really work if you slowly face stiffer and stiffer opposition. Not when you face Stevie Richards every week. He needed some more mid-card wins. It's like he jumped from the lower card to the main event overnight. He failed to excite the fans, and he didn't do enough on pay-per-view where it really mattered. Would a manager have helped him? Probably. Was his body an issue where most of the top stars were chiseled? Kozlov was carrying a bit more weight than them? Maybe. Vladimir Kozlov was not somebody to hate, but his main event run was poorly executed, and if you don't agree with that, you'll get booted.